Hi, my name is Todd Austin, and joining me today is Jackie Rakers from the Illinois Association of Mutual Insurance Companies. Jackie is the Executive Director of the association. Welcome to the show, Jackie.
Thanks for having me today.
Recognizing that many homeowners don't know what coverage they have, Jackie volunteered to discuss coverages in hopes that every homeowner will gain some new insight. So Jackie, what are a few of the biggest misconceptions that a homeowner has regarding their homeowner's policy?
What a great question, Todd. Unfortunately, most homeowners don't know what coverage they have until they have a claim. And then they've just said a prayer and hope that they have coverage.
Wow.
And unfortunately, sometimes they find out that they didn't have coverage and they had assumed that they would. So while there's many misconceptions about what coverages are covered under a policy, I would like to just hit on just a few of the basics for time's sake today. Something that applies to the average homeowners that is a misconception of their policy. Most importantly is ACV, actual cash value, versus replacement cost. This is often misunderstood by homeowners. Actual cash value is actually the replacement cost minus the depreciation. Sometimes people assume that that means fair market value, but that is not the case. Depreciation is actually the percentage of the useful life times the replacement cost. So an example I'll give you is everybody has a roof on their house, so we'll use that for an example. If you have an actual cash value policy and let's just say it's 10 years old, the expected life of that roof is 20 years. So in this scenario, you have used 50% of its life. So if the replacement cost to put a new roof on that home is $5,000, you would subtract 50% of it because it's 10 years old. So your depreciation is going to be, in this case, $2,500. So that means the amount of coverage is $2,500. However, your policy also has a $500 deductible. So you subtract that $500 deductible, and now you have a claims payment for $2,000 on your actual cash value policy. Now let's use that same scenario, only that you have a replacement cost policy. The same situation is it's going to cost $5,000 to replace that. And even though your roof is 10 years old, in the replacement cost policy, it really doesn't matter. You will have a $5,000 claim, less the same deductible, $500 deductible. So in this case, you will receive a check for $4,500.
Big difference.
That's a huge difference. But keep in mind, there's also going to be different premiums for that types of coverage. And it's not always best to have replacement cost. Every situation kind of warrants a different kind of coverage. So make sure that you discuss that with an agent. So that's critical in finding out what your policy is and what you need, and often misunderstood. One of the other misunderstandings is policy limitations. No matter which company you are with, there are limitations within those policies. We have found that they're pretty common from company to company. So I'm going to give you the examples of what's on my policy, but you'll want to check within your own company to find out those limits. But a few issues that everyone faces is the limit of money. My policy says that I can have $200 cash to make a claim on. I can't tell you how many times that I have had an envelope that I put money away while I was saving for something, and if it exceeds $200, you do not have coverage on your homeowner's policy. Most people do not realize that.
Oh, wow.
So that is something that you really want to be aware of. Again, check your personal policy. Another limitation is jewelry. Another misunderstanding on that. My policy limits $1,000. So people tend to look at an item. Maybe I have a necklace that's valued at $500, and I look at my homeowner's policy and say, well, I have $1,000 worth of coverage. So I do have coverage on that necklace if that's the only thing I'm making a claim on.
True.
My $1,000 is the total amount of jewelry. So if my jewelry box is stolen, and it has my diamond earrings, maybe some gold bracelets, a few rings, and that diamond necklace, I probably have exceeded that $1,000. And that is a very common coverage in almost every home. So what the answer to that is, for your jewelry, is that you can, what we call, schedule an item. So that $500 necklace I told you about, I should schedule that with my agent. That way I have more coverage because it broadens coverage when you schedule it. that I now have more coverage on that necklace, plus it takes it out of that $1,000. I have $500 on that necklace, and I still have $1,000 on the miscellaneous jewelry. Oh, so that's something you would definitely want to do. And then there's the electronic apparatus, the CDs, the DVDs, records and tapes that we all have. My policy limit's $1,000. So when you think that it's $15 per CD to replace, if I have 67 of those, I've exceeded my policy already.
Wow.
And in most cases, and many of my friends, they have hundreds of CDs, and it's sitting right next to that huge sound system that they've purchased.
Wow.
So if a theft is going to happen, chances are they're all right there together, and they're going to pick those up and leave with all of those. So that is something that they definitely want to look into as well. But the most dangerous, and it's usually a lack of knowledge in the mistake, is about who is the insured. On an insurance policy, the insured is defined as that person that is named on the policy, the residents in the household that are relatives. If they are not a relative but under the age of 21 and designated into the care of the insured, then they're covered. So an example is if you or I were roommates, you and I were roommates, and I took out an insurance policy, my items are covered, but yours are not. So think about how many couples you know now that are living together. They want to make sure that they're both listed as insureds on the insurance policy to make sure that they're adequately covered.
Thank you, Jackie. And how can a homeowner make sure they're getting the best coverage for their dollar?
Great. Most people comparison shop occasionally, and they think they're doing their due diligence. The problem is, are they comparing the same coverages? If Company A gave me a quote for $500, perhaps they're giving me a quote of $80,000 on my home, but when you add in the extended coverages, I have $160,000 total insured with that company for $500. Company B may have given me a quote for $550. However, looking closer at the policy, they actually insured my home for $90,000, which makes my extended coverages up to $180,000. So there's actually a $20,000 difference in the coverages for $50 a year. So are you comparing the exact coverages? And most importantly, the deductibles. The higher deductible that you take, the greater discount in your premium there's going to be. So you'll want to make sure that you're looking at all of those things. And what I caution everyone too is that a lot of the insurance industry is changing to a percentage for their deductible. And while that makes a huge difference in your premium, I hope that you recognize what that means. If you have $100,000 on your home and you take a 5% deductible, you have a $5,000 deductible.
Wow.
And people aren't really paying attention to that. As long as you're aware of it, you'll see the savings in your premiums, but just be aware. Make sure you're comparing apples to apples.
Thank you. And the last question, Jackie, is I realize there are several different coverages within a policy, and the average homeowner can't interpret policy language. So what can you recommend that a homeowner focus on when actually purchasing the policy?
It all boils down to having an agent that has demonstrated that they have integrity and exceptional customer service. After all, Todd, you're placing your entire life possessions in their hands. So make sure that your agent is someone that is reputable, that knows what they're selling you, and that will take the time to actually explain it to you. In today's world of internet shopping and shopping for low-cost deals, sometimes we overlook customer service. And customer service is only important when you're having a claim. So whenever you purchase insurance coverage, make sure you're not just clicking here on a button, but that you're actually speaking with an agent that is going to be able to service you, because customer service comes at a tremendous price. And make sure that you have invested your time and efforts with a solid agent that's going to be able to take good care of you.
And thank you for joining us on the show today, Jackie, with some very good insurance policy information.
Well, thanks for letting me be here. I hope that each of you will take time to contact your agent and review your own personal coverages. But the key lesson today is most importantly to not only know what coverages that you have, but what coverages that you don't have.
And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for watching, and have a terrific day.